Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tammy Bentley. I am the second vice president of the Resident Association here at Queensbridge Houses. Over the years, some of my tenants have come to me complaining about leaks in their homes, especially after a heavy rain. They have leaks in their closets, their walls, even the stairs in the hallways. As you can all imagine, it has caused a lot of headaches for the residents here. When we heard that Mayor de Blasio was planning to fix our leaks roofs, we were so relieved. And now that the work is actually being done, we are so happy. A lot of people like myself have lived in Queensbridge houses all their lives. This is our home and we want to stay here. So on behalf of tenants here, I want to thank Mayor de Blasio for fixing our homes. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tammy, you did good. Tammy was nervous, but she overcame it. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank her for all she does with the Residents Association. Thank you very much. There is nothing more important than hearing from people who live in developments, people who are active in developments, making life better for everyone else. And they'll tell you what matters. And I know that for folks who care about their homes, about the developments in many cases they've lived in their whole lives, brought their families up in, nothing's more important than getting it right with the roofs. Nothing's more important than fixing the roofs. And we have heard your voices, Tammy, and so many other resident leaders. We've heard your voices, and that's what brings us here today. This is a great day for Queensbridge houses. It's a great day for our housing authority, because we're going to the heart of the matter and fixing one of the biggest problems that our residents have faced for a long time. In addition to Tammy, I want to thank from the Residents Association, Vera Ogletree. Thank you for your leadership. And two of the board members of our housing authority citywide, Beatrice Bird and Willie Mae Lewis. Thank you for your leadership. Now, you need a roof over your head in life, and you need a roof that doesn't leak. Nothing's more fundamental. It's one of the things that it's our obligation to make sure people have. And it isn't a good roof if it leaks all the time. So we know that this roof replacement work is crucial. We're not just putting a Band-Aid on the situation. We are fixing the roofs. We are replacing the roofs. Starting here at Queensbridge. Now, this is the largest public housing development in the United States of America. It's something to be very proud of. Over 3,000 apartments, over 7,000 residents, a very proud history. And this is the flagship for this effort. What we start here at Queensbridge is going to reach all across the city. And this effort we're starting today will ultimately replace roofs at 66 buildings, 66 NYCHA buildings across this city. Now, we do not accept the status quo that has pervaded for too long in NYCHA, that residents just had to put up with things like leaky roofs. I don't accept that. Residents deserve better, and we will give them better. Over 400,000 of our fellow New Yorkers, we are adamant that we will make fundamental changes in their lives. People have had to suffer through the leaky roofs and so many other problems in buildings that have been crumbling for years or even decades. And why? Because these buildings were neglected. They weren't invested in. We know for too many years the state and federal government didn't do all they could have and should have for the people of our public housing authority. And people suffered for it. Well, that ends now. We have committed $300 million to this effort. And we know through this roof replacement effort that over 13,000 New Yorkers will no longer experience the indignity of a leaky roof. Their lives will be better. And when we complete this effort, we're going to go and do even more. It's all part of the Next Gen NYCHA plan, Next Generation NYCHA. And this plan is not only about making up for the gaps and the problems in the history, it is about going farther. It's putting NYCHA on a stable footing for the future. Let's be clear. I don't accept anything less than that. NYCHA needs to be financially stable. And the people who live in public housing deserve a good quality of life. That's what this plan is all about, turning the tables on the history and giving people that fairness they deserve. Next Gen NYCHA lays out a plan to secure the financial stability of NYCHA, but also the physical stability of NYCHA, making sure that our buildings are handled the right way. Now, let's be clear. Today, NYCHA has $17 billion in capital needs across all of our buildings, $17 billion. And again, a lot of that is because the federal government, the state government stopped contributing. Well, because we have come up with a plan that turns the whole housing authority around, we will be able to catch up. We will be able to turn the tables and make these homes good again. It is not enough, as I said, to put on a Band-Aid. We have to go to the root causes. And if you listen to folks who live at Queensbridge, they'll tell you that the Band-Aid solutions didn't work. Even when there were repairs, there's too many times when the water poured in from the roof, poured into the apartments, poured into the stairwells, ruined people's furniture, knocked out the electricity, did all sorts of things that made life unfair to the residents here. And obviously health challenges like mold and mildew and mice, all affected by the roof situation. It wasn't right, and it can't go on any longer, because we need to fix the roofs once and for all. That is the plan. Fix the roofs once and for all so people don't have to live this way. NYCHA residents have made clear to us that roofs are the cause of the #1 complaint, the health challenges we face from mold. And we know if we fix these roofs the right way, we will not have that mold problem. We won't have it here at Queensbridge, where 28 buildings will have their roofs replaced. There'll be 18 buildings at Sheepshead Bay Houses in Brooklyn, 14 buildings at Parkside Houses in the Bronx, and 6 buildings at Albany Houses in Brooklyn. This is an example of handling things very differently in our housing authority. And by the way, it's one example. Another example is the sheds, the scaffolding that have been in too many places where there wasn't even work going on. I found out 2 years ago at Lincoln Houses, I had never known before, that sheds were just left up for years on end. We said that has to end. We have now taken down, this is an amazing number, 8 miles of these sheds have been taken down in developments all over the city. We committed $210 million to developments that needed it the most to address safety challenges, and that included here at Queensbridge. $210 million. You know what that achieved? In all 15 developments combined, a nearly 11% drop in crime overall. At Queensbridge, a 19% drop in crime in the last year. That is something to be proud of. And another major reform. We're investing $10 million to bring free, high-speed internet service to over 16,000 NYCHA residents. And that includes every single resident at Queensbridge Houses. Every single resident will have free, high-speed internet. And the repairs that waited so long in the past, the great work of our general manager, Michael Kelly, you'll hear from in a moment, those repairs are now being done faster than ever, and you will be able to track the progress of the repairs. We will be open and transparent with you about it. That is what we need to do to sustain our housing authority for the long term. That's what Tammy's been working for, and so many other resident leaders. And one of your fellow residents and resident leaders, April Simpson, said something powerful that really breaks it down for all of us. She said, "I love my community. I've been here all my life. I've seen all the changes. This is home to us, not just the projects. This is home for people, and we have to treat it like a home and take care of people the right way." A few words in Spanish. Hemos empezado a reemplazar los techos en 66 edificios de NYCHA para atender la queja número 1 de sus residentes, el mojo. Debemos reemplazar esos techos para proteger la salud y mejorar la calidad de vida de miles de residentes de la Autoridad de Vivienda. Seguimos trabajando para garantizar viviendas dignas y más seguras para todos los residentes de NYCHA. With that, a man who does the work and is making these changes happen for thousands and thousands of our residents, the General Manager of NYCHA, Michael Kelly.
Thanks, Mayor. Jump up here. Hey, everybody. What a great day at Queensbridge Houses. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and all you do for the residents of public housing here in New York City, the greatest in the country and the world. Since day one, you and your administration have made NYCHA a top priority in providing hundreds of millions of dollars for new roofs, new security cameras, better exterior lighting, and sidewalk shed removal. Thank you so very much. Please give it up for our mayor, who has committed so much for NYCHA. On behalf of NYCHA's chair and the rest of the NYCHA leadership, I also want to thank the residents of Queensbridge Houses and the hardworking members of your resident association, including Vice President Tammy Bentley and Sergeant at Arms Vera Ogletree, are here today. Please give it up for Tanya and for Tammy and for Vera. We're thankful for your support in helping us create safe, clean, connected communities through our strategic plan, Next Generation NYCHA. I want to give a thanks to all of our partners in government for your support. Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, Senator Michael Gianaris, Councilmember Richie Torres, Councilmember Jimmy Van Bramer, Borough President Melinda Katz, and Assemblywoman Catherine Nolan. Please give it up for all of our government partners.
Rapid response.
And I also want to thank the hardworking board members, again, Beatrice Bird and Willie Mae Lewis. Thank you so much for everything you do. And finally, a big shout out to the hardworking men and women that work for NYCHA here at Queensbridge Houses. Please give it up for all the hardworking staff here. So with this mayor's investment of over $300 million in the next 3 years, we're fixing the worst roofs in our portfolio starting here at Queensbridge, where $87 million worth of work has already begun. And as some residents will tell you, when it rains outside, it rains inside. And that's truly not acceptable. We know that healthy roofs is the start to a stronger, cleaner building, ultimately to better apartments on the inside. Strong roofs prevent leaks that cause mold, and I don't need to tell you how important that is or how big an issue that is for NYCHA. Replacing our roofs delivers real benefits. We found that new roof dramatically reduces work orders related to water leaks, freeing us to focus on other important fix and repair efforts and improving the quality of life for our residents. Again, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, partners, for all you do. A wonderful day here.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank all of our elected officials for their support in this effort. Let's hear from them, starting with Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney.
Thank you. Thank you. I tell you, it's really great news for Queensbridge. Nothing's more important than having a good roof over your head. And all of this would not be happening without the support of our mayor, who has made affordable housing a top priority of his administration, as well it should be. Not only building new units of affordable housing, but preserving those that we already have. And Queensbridge is not only the largest public housing development in New York City and in New York State, it is the largest in the entire country. And I would say it's one of the most successful because of the tenant organization and Bishop Taylor, who's always praying for us, and the board members. And I'd say these elected officials that are so committed to this community. And because of the joint work, we've not only worked with the mayor, 80 million of his 300 million is from the federal government. Should be more. We're going to be working for more, Mr. Mayor. But it is 80 million, and every 80 million helps, right? So we're delighted about that. But it was roughly a 10-year effort, working with Kathy Nolan and State Senator Gianaris and Jimmy Van Bramer to rebuild the gorgeous park and the gorgeous waterfront with a fishing pier and playgrounds, and it's one of the best, most beautiful neighborhoods in the whole city. Public housing is so important because in New York you've got to live someplace where they can't tear it down, and they're always trying to tear down your home. You know that in New York, and they can't burn it down. It's here to stay, and we've got the beautiful trees, and we've got the beautiful parks, and we've got to fight to preserve them. I can't tell you how many people, they haven't dared come come to Queensbridge because they know about Ms. McQueen and they know April Simpson. They don't come here. But they've come to several of my developments, or rather the developments that I've been thrilled to represent, and tried to take all the open space. You don't need it. We're going to build more, not even affordable units, market rate units. And it was a huge fight. And I want to thank all the elected officials and especially our mayor for stopping those ill-conceived plans to take this land and build on it when it should be there for the young people to enjoy and for all of us to enjoy. I'm having the best time I've had all day being here. I hope it goes on forever because I love being in this park. And all I can say is when it's dripping on your head, it's very unhealthy. You can get mold. It's not only uncomfortable, but it's a health hazard. So taking care of these roofs for all 28 of the residential buildings is a huge plus. And it's going to make sure that this housing's not only here for us, but for the next generation. Believe me, everybody's going to be trying to move in because you've got the beautiful park, the beautiful waterway, the beautiful pier, the beautiful park, and now a great roof over your head. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to all of our elected officials and all our tenant leaders and everybody here that lives here and makes this one of the best places to live in New York City. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now, State Senator Mike Gianaris. Whatever you like. Good choice.
Not as tall as the mayor, but I don't think I need to step. Thank you all for coming out to Queensbridge. Between my time in the Assembly and the Senate, I've represented parts of Queens for 15 years. And I can tell you every one of those years, there's been a complaint registered about the roofs in our public housing developments. And so we really need to thank Mayor de Blasio for finally taking action on a problem that we have known has existed for years and years in these developments, and starting the project right here in Queensbridge, which we know and love here in Western Queens, is a great start. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that. Of course, thank you, Kathy.
Give him a hand.
Of course, at the forefront of this mayor's agenda has been to make sure people have places they can afford and places that are safe and places that are healthy to live in. And so, yes, we are making sure that these developments are safe. We're making sure that they are not subjecting our residents to mold and the health problems that are associated with them. We're understanding that we don't want them to have leaky ceilings and leaky walls in their homes so that they can then focus on the rest of their lives and making a living to provide for their families. And so that cannot happen without a good, safe, stable home in which to live. And so that is part of what's going on today. And for the work that the mayor is doing throughout this whole city on focusing on affordability for all New Yorkers, he deserves praise for elevating that to the top of his agenda. And it's been a pleasure to work with him on that issue. So thank you, and to my colleagues, Congressman Maloney, Assemblywoman Nolan, and Jimmy Van Bramer. I'm going to take the liberty of inviting you all to his birthday party tonight, which is just down the road. I'm sure he won't mind, right, Jimmy? Okay. It's free of charge, down on Vernon Boulevard. It'll be a great time, as it always is, but he's a great councilman who does great work here as well. So thank you.
Nicely done.
Nicely done.
Just everyone come to the party. And now, Assembly Member Kathy Nolan.
Bravo, Kathy. Bravo.
Thank you.
You got the hype
Thank
back.
you. Thank you very much, Mayor de Blasio. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you and NYCHA and your administration for making this project a reality and finally fixing the roofs here at Queensbridge houses. It's a really big deal. And I had the privilege, since I run a little late, the mayor was here real early, and I got to walk down the street with him. And I can tell you how many people praised you genuinely from their hearts, because this is something that has been really past due a very long time. I'm very grateful that my colleagues in government are here, and I'm particularly excited to see our tenant association, but also Bishop Taylor, our great leader here in Urban Upbound. Bishop, thank you for being here. And I see Chris Hathaway from Jacob Reese, our wonderful settlement house, and many other people from senior management here in Queensbridge. I'm not going to say any names because maybe they don't want to get mentioned, but they're here. I just would say one last thing. I told the mayor this, and everybody who lives in Queensbridge knows it. I see other friends. My father grew up here. He lived here from 1939 until 1954 when he got married, and my grandmother passed away. And the roofs are still those same roofs, you know, from that time. And, you know, Queensbridge has always been a very, very special place. It's been the privilege of my life to represent Ridgewood, Sunnyside, Long Island City, but particularly Queensbridge, that did so much to help my father and his siblings. His father had died when he was just an infant. It was Queensbridge that, through the community settlement house, made him a Fresh Air Fund kid. It was Queensbridge that got him into the Queens Vocational Radio Repair Program. It was Queensbridge where he and my uncle signed up to serve this country as veterans of both the Marine Corps for my uncle and in the Air Force for my father. It was Queensbridge where my aunts met their husbands and where they were able to get training and skills to go on to have good jobs at sanitation and the phone company and the fire department and the police department and private sector businesses. And that all happened here because people cared enough to help a family that was an immigrant family from Ireland come here, and their father had died, and the city of New York helped them have good, productive lives. And that's what Queensbridge is about. That's what this mayor was about in coming here today to finally fix these roofs. When my grandmother lived in public housing, they didn't have doors on the closets. Any old-timer will tell you that. The elevator didn't stop at every floor, because there was a sense that maybe people didn't really deserve this. But that was a false story. People do deserve it, and people need it, and they go on to have wonderful lives and be productive citizens. And I'll just end with this. Mayor LaGuardia, in 1924, before he was mayor, and I've said this quote to Mayor de Blasio because I think he's trying in his administration to do that. New York City is the richest city in the world, but until every child has enough to eat, and every home has light and air, and every person a chance for happiness, it will not be the city that it can and ought to be. So thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for putting us on the path to being the city that we can and want to be. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Rock it, girl. Thank you.
Get very emotional when it comes to Queensbridge.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Kathy. Finally, council member Jimmy Van Bramer. We'll all see him at his birthday party tonight.
Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A particular thank you to Senator Gianaris for blowing the party tonight. I know that Vera said she would be there. Senator Gianaris, we're all going to dance together. Everyone is invited. I too want to. I'm 46 years old. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor de Blasio, for making NYCHA a priority. This development, Queensbridge, is filled with the best people. The absolute best people, proud people, strong people, good families who love this community. And these buildings should be as good, as hardworking, as wonderful as the people who live in them. And it is a great joy to represent this community, to represent Vera Ogletree, Tammy Bentley did an amazing job, Bishop Taylor, Chris Hanway, and Bob Madison from Jacob Reese. And there are so many who are not here. I know April Simpson is away doing a great job, and I see out in the crowd Miss Barnes and Miss Foster on the bench. This is an amazing community to live in, and I love fighting for Queensbridge every single day that I'm a council member. I absolutely love this job because Queensbridge has touched my heart and my family. My mother couldn't be here today, but she is beloved by the seniors at the Senior Center, and we are such a great family working together. And there are so many good people who have been forced to live with some challenges that no New Yorker should be forced to live with. But finally, we have a mayor and an administration and a team that is willing to take this on. Queensbridge is the largest public housing development in the country. That's a great honor. But even more than that honor, it is filled with simply the best people, the greatest New Yorkers who simply want their housing to reflect the dignity that is essentially in every single person's hearts in this development. And we will never stop working until we make sure that these buildings, this development, these grounds, yes, that park, Congresswoman, reflect the dignity, the joy, the wonder of all of the people of Queensbridge. So this is a great announcement, but it should not be the last announcement in Queensbridge. We have so much more to do to make sure that Queensbridge gets its fair share and every single resident here has what they deserve. Thank you very much.
Yay. Happy birthday.
All All right, we're going to take questions on this topic, followed by questions on other topics. First, on this topic, Aaron.
Yeah, Mayor, this, if I understand correctly, is $300 million.
Say it louder, I'm sorry.
This, if I understand correctly, is $300 million in city money. So can you tell us what happened to the $300 million in state money that had been bandied about that the city wanted to use for the roof replacement?
Okay, this is a mix of city and federal, because obviously we do get federal money in. When I say when I talk about the history is although we get federal money for NYCHA, it's not what it used to be and it's not what we need. And again, I know the Congresswoman shares this view. We look forward to a day when the federal government gets back in the affordable housing business for public housing, for senior housing, a whole host of things that used to be common. I know she's fighting with her colleagues in the House minority for that type of thing. But in terms of the state money, we still have not heard from the state. It's $100 million that the state pledged. We have not received a plan, and we'd very much like to get that plan.
Does that mean that fewer roofs are now going to be replaced because of that, or has the city kind of replaced?
The money we're talking about here is our commitment. The $300 million is the city's commitment in our budget we passed in June. We're going to move forward with that regardless of what the state does. But we think the $100 million that the state pledged should be made available to the people of our public housing authority. It's something that NYCHA residents deserve, is the support to fix these roofs, and $100 million more from the state would make a huge difference. We'd like to see that money sooner rather than later. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about one of the ways that you're trying to make the authority sustainable and the housing sustainable is to build some combination market rate and affordable housing on select developments?
Correct.
I understand you're going to be picking which developments are going to be the sites for that in the next couple of weeks.
Well, at least the initial ones, yes.
Do you have any concerns over residents at those developments not necessarily wanting that or understanding that?
Well, let's start at the beginning. Obviously, my predecessor had a plan which I did not agree with, and we have a very different plan. Our plan focuses on affordable housing. And I think that immediately begins to answer your question. How are residents going to feel both in the surrounding development and in the surrounding larger community? I think people all over the city know that we need more affordable housing. And this is one of the ways we'll create it. So there's going to be two types of development here. In some places, it will be 100% affordable housing. In other places, it will be 50% affordable housing. There'll be select sites. We'll identify them as we go along. In every case, we'll be working closely with residents of the development and the community. That's another thing that I did not think was being done properly in the previous plan. I don't think there was serious engagement with community members and residents to figure out what they needed, because one of the great things about our plan is it will create a lot of money for that development. So, for example, where there is additional housing being built, there will be capital dollars created to fix problems that exist in that development. The residents are going to help us decide what that money goes to. For example, they may want their elevators to be replaced. They may want a new security system. Whatever it is, we're going to focus on the most important needs of the residents. That money would not be available without the development. So I think what's going to make this plan something that people will embrace is that it's going to overwhelmingly create affordable housing, which everyone knows we need in the city, and it's going to create a lot of new resources to fix problems in the development where it's located, problems that in many cases have been going on for decades and people really want solutions to.
Just going back to the state funding question, the $100 million, the governor had originally said it was going to be for roof repairs, then he said he wanted it to be still invested in NYCHA, but in other sort of quality of life improvements. And when he announced that change, he said that he emphasized that the money would be controlled by the state because he said the state has a better track record at construction. Can you sort of respond to that idea that the state's track record when it comes to construction?
Yeah, that's old news. We've had that discussion before. We're very proud of the work we're doing today at NYCHA. You heard about the 8 miles of sheds that have been removed, the work already happening here at the roofs, the work that was done on security last year very effectively. We're proud of what this Public Housing Authority today is doing, and we're proud of the direction it's going in. My bottom line is I'd like to see those resources. Clearly, the roofs are the number one concern. I think that would be the best use, but most importantly, we want to see those resources and we want to see a plan.
We recently had a situation in which contractors doing parapet work actually helped cause leaks and other problems in the King Towers in Manhattan. I want to hear about what measures you're taking to ensure that the contractors contractors are not going to be making life worse for residents during these roof replacements instead of...
I'm glad you raised that. It's an absolutely unacceptable situation. What happened at that development should never happen anywhere. We're going to make sure that the residents affected get the right kind of support to get back to normal. There will definitely be consequences for anyone who was a part of making that mistake. And there's still an investigation going on to determine the role either of the private contractor or the staff at that development of NYCHA. But I guarantee you there'll be consequences, and I'd say this to people working on these projects all over the city. You have to do them right. You cannot leave the residents in the lurch. If you leave them in the lurch, you will pay for it. On this topic still. Go ahead.
A woman at a NYCHA.
Louder.
A woman at a NYCHA development in East Harlem was having problems because she had...
You gotta speak up, brother.
She had 5 dogs in her apartment, and it's apparently breaks the terms of her lease. Do you think she should be threatened with eviction for having that many animals in her house?
I don't know the policy. Do you know the policy offhand? Okay, just clarify broadly.
Yeah, very broadly, I don't know the specific incidents, but there is a pet policy. With this concentration of this many families, it's very important that the agency have a published pet policy and that all the residents, live within those terms.
Okay, last call on topic. Yep.
The chairwoman of NYCHA came under fire late last week regarding some comments she made saying infill was going to happen no matter what.
Wait, say it again. Came under fire.
Making some comments in an interview saying basically that infill, the use of public space development would be coming no matter what. The Bronx Borough president came out and said, open space is a public resource, that's being used by seniors, by children. You can't just destroy that. It puts tremendous strain on our public goods.
Well, I just disagree with that. First of all, I think our chair, Shola Alataye, is doing a great job. I support her fully. Second, I made very clear this is the plan we believe in to create affordable housing. This is a crucial piece of creating the 200,000 units of affordable housing that we will do over the next 10 years that this city needs, enough for 500,000 people. We're going to make sure that any facilities that people have, whether it's parking, playground, whatever, a development, are made whole, even if it means someplace else in the development. We'll make sure that people have the same amenities. But we must have more affordable housing for our people, and I think that's understood in communities all over the city. So I think this is a fair policy and a just policy, and it's going to allow us to fix the very developments where this is happening. And I guarantee you, I've spent a lot of time in my public life working with public housing residents. If you say to people, here is a way to fix elevators, to create a security system, whatever they need, we're going to work through with them to choose the priorities and create jobs for residents of that development, people will understand that that's a good deal for them. Say again? We obviously will account for any infrastructure needs. Yes?
BB gun shooting incident at Gracie.
We're still on topic. Let's make sure we're on topic before we switch up. This is still on NYCHA, and particularly this announcement. I want to see if there's anything else on this. Going once, going twice. Now you're on.
The BB gun shooting incident outside of Gracie Mansion. Do you have concerns about your security or living there?
I have tremendous faith in NYPD. And I think my security and my family's security is being handled very well. I obviously was concerned for the officer. I spoke to her, and she's in fine shape. So I guarantee the NYPD is going to take care of that situation. Mara?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, last week we asked you if you were personally offended by the topless performers in Times Square. And you said that, as a human being and a parent, you didn't think it was appropriate for women to display themselves in that way in a busy public square. Do you feel the same way about topless men? And also,
it's a business. The difference...
Sorry.
Yeah.
How much is this task force costing the city?
First of all, it's a business. Let's be clear. This is about a business, people making money, and doing it in a way that obviously comes with problems. So we want to regulate it properly. That's what this task force is going to do. The task force is based on the work of city leaders and community leaders. It's not going to cost money to have that task force, no appreciable amount of money.
Is it appropriate in your mind, or why is it appropriate in your mind that a task force that was created to deal with an issue of female toplessness be headed by men?
This task force is about Times Square in general. It's going to look at the costume characters. It's going to look at the DVD sellers. It's going to look at the painted ladies. It's going to look at the traffic dynamics and the congestion dynamics and the whole picture. That's all I got, dude. Thank you.
July was
You were providing testimony, Airman.
July was the most violent month in many years.
Louder.
July was the most violent month in many years at Rikers Island. Wonder why you think that's happening despite your anti-violence plan. Does it show the need for changes? And also some critics have said that Commissioner Pont should be replaced. What do you think about that?
I think those critics don't know what they're talking about. Commissioner Pont is a reformer who has been effective all around the country. If you look at what he's achieving already, in the units where he has put his reforms in place, there is little or no violence. And that is the shape of things to come on Rikers Island. We're going to change the culture profoundly, and he's the right person to do it. Also, there's about to be a vote, the Board of Corrections, on the visitation policy. And this is an area that needs tremendous reform because that's where a lot of the weapons are coming in. And the change is going to stop the flow of a lot of the weapons. So systematically, we are addressing that issue. Jonathan.
Mr. Mayor, on the Times Square thing, from last week you mentioned one of the possibilities would be potentially rethinking the pedestrian plazas. Some critics of that idea have suggested that by doing so, it could actually put more cars in the area, which they contend would sort of fly in the face of your Vision Zero reform. I want to see, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like that removing the plazas are sort of...
I think what we've done with Vision Zero is beyond what any previous administration has done. And I'm very proud of that. I give tremendous credit to NYPD, to DOT, to TLC. We drove down pedestrian fatalities to the lowest level since 1910 last year. It's actually lower again this year. So I think we can say that the folks in my administration who are running our Vision Zero initiative know what they're talking about. This is a proposal that's going to be looked at. Now, I think we can safely say there's been some portrayal as this as a fait accompli. I didn't say that, nor did anyone else. We said we have a one-month process, and this is one of the things that has to be examined. So we'll consider all of the issues, including, of course, the safety ramifications. Going back to front, yes.
There's been an idea floated.
No, behind you, I'm sorry.
Kyle Mazza from UNF News. Thank you for taking my question.
Yep.
Henry Pratt, our education reporter, wanted to ask you a question, and then I'll go to my second about public safety. First, he wanted to ask you, the start of school is coming around the corner. What steps are you and the school's chancellor taking to prepare students and families for the upcoming school season?
Well, as we always do, we're preparing the schools, we're getting alerts out to parents, we're making sure that they know what to do to prepare their kids, and obviously we're very excited that we have two really big changes coming. We're going to have, for the first time ever, full-day, high-quality pre-K for every single kid who's 4 years old, and we're going to have after-school programs for every single middle school child who wants one. So those are big changes. We're letting parents know that that's available to them, in both cases for free. And we're getting everyone ready for the school year. What's the other question?
Regarding public safety, the Legionnaire's disease outbreak, as we know, has calmed down from the South Bronx. But if there's any other type of pandemics or any other type of public safety issue, how are you going to address that, and how will officials do the same?
Well, look, I think we've had two situations that helped us to understand the best way to do this, Ebola and Legionnaires. And I think this city public health capacity is extraordinarily good. I think we have the best public health department in the nation. We have the best public hospital system in the nation. And I think we saw, amen, and we saw during the whole preparation for Ebola, the role of the FDNY, which was exceptional. We obviously saw the heroism of Bellevue Hospital, and we saw Lincoln Hospital play an extraordinarily important role in the Legionnaires situation. So I think this is a city that's very well prepared to handle a public health challenge. But we also try and learn. We're going to do, obviously, a full review of everything to figure out how we can even be better prepared going forward. Marcia.
Getting back to the pellet gun incident.
Getting back to?
The pellet gun incident. There are at least 4 or 5 buildings that are tall buildings around Gracie Mansion where, unfortunately, somebody who wanted to do you harm could shoot down into the courtyard. I wonder if that concerns you, if you think there should be changes to the security, and if you thought the fact that it could have been you, it could have been your wife, it could have been your kids.
We all understand what we signed up for, and obviously my family is the center of my life. But we have absolute faith in the NYPD. They're the security experts, and we know they'll take care of the situation. Anna.
Given City Bike's expansion into the outer boroughs and into Jersey City in the future, I was wondering if you thought that Staten Island would benefit from a bike share program of that kind, or bike rental, or city bike specifically, and whether or not that jives with your administration's agenda on the borough in terms of transportation.
No, absolutely. I believe that everything needs to be thought about from a 5-borough perspective. And one of the things we said, as you know, there was a moment when City Bike was teetering financially and structurally, and the administration stepped in and worked with others to make sure that City Bike would be strong for the future. But one of the things we said was it had to be a 5-borough system. So it is expanding as we speak, deeper into the outer boroughs, coming to Bed-Stuy this Friday, in fact, but it has to get to all 5 boroughs, so I certainly want to see it get to Staten Island as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.